Cheers. Cheers. Just iced tea.
Just iced tea.
Just iced tea. That's fine. You don't have to drink. It's called drinking responsibly. Yeah. Which, I don't know if we do that or not. But you know what?
We do. We have to say that. We definitely do.
Sure. We do.
We do.
We drink responsibly.
Okay, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, so your fiance got us this bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is a nice bottle. It's a Weller's.
Smooth. It
Very
tastes
smooth. Hits you right in the nose and but it's not like it's not a sharp burn as much as it's just like it's there.
I like to comment on the viscosity of it. Ooh, okay. The viscosity is it's mild. It's not super thick because I keep forgetting Penelope was very viscous. I liked Penelope though. So he was like, "What is this?" He almost like didn't know what viscous meant.
I knew what viscous meant. Sometimes it just astonishes me how much of a nerd Kid is.
I'm such a nerd.
He's such a nerd,
but I like it.
Sometimes he says stuff, and which, to be fair, I'm nerdy too. I just talked about watching 6,000 episodes worth of anime, but it just, I don't know. Sometimes you say stuff.
I do.
But anyway, Green River, it's a bottle that is widely talked about. Why did I say Green River?
I was going to say, wait, did I miss something?
We're struggling. Weller's is a bottle that a lot of people talk about. They want to have in their collection quite a bit. Your fiance was nice enough to ascertain us a bottle, which was a lot of fun, and I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Smooth. I'm not really getting a whole lot of caramely, vanilla-ish.
No, I'm getting very much a bit more of an oaky flavor, a little bit more spiced.
Yeah.
I will say it's definitely not my favorite. Like, it doesn't overtake the Penelope for me.
I would drink this around a campfire.
Oh yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, definitely a campfire. Something outdoorsy, because oak-like wood. To me, that's just very outdoorsy.
Your adjectives are always something very fun.
I do well with adjectives. I try.
Have you guys thought about what bottle to ask from the Bourbon Trail?
Oh, I'm gonna ask for 6.
Well, if different varieties or the same?
Oh, different varieties. Kid wants Buffalo Trace.
That's classic.
Yeah, easy.
I might go with your fiance to the Bourbon Trail. I just haven't decided because I wanted Kit to go.
Please, by all means.
I still might.
Whatever.
You got to figure out the right time for it.
Now he's just saying I'm right for the viewers. This isn't from you.
Well, anyways, welcome to Sore Points and Strong Drinks. I'm your host, Kit. This is Jordan Wright, and we have a guest today. She is part of our company. She's with our company, and she's a registered dietitian, not a nutritionist. There is a difference.
But what is her name?
Well, what is her name? Her name is Nicole. Nicole, yes. I'm a bad intro. See, you're sometimes better at playing host, but anyway.
Oh, well, I feel like I host a lot.
You do. So I'm trying it out this time.
You sound like a raspy frog, but you're doing it.
I apologize to everybody right now. Pollen is kicking my butt.
Yeah.
It's been a whole week of this, and it's just getting worse.
You are
barely talking in the cloud.
You are doing fine. This is how you grow. This is how your wings spread to learn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You gotta learn something.
You'll be a natural. At one point, you'll leave me in the dust, and that'll be great.
Exactly. I hope. I've told you this. I hope to. But so we're gonna learn a lot from Nicole today. We're gonna ask Nicole a lot of questions about nutrition, about diets, about different what maybe the basics of what to do, what not to do, what things to look out for, what things to really look into more. We're going to learn a little bit, a lot of it tonight, I'm sure. So,
well, because we've talked to you about our viewers quite a bit.
Yes,
you're the gal that looks at the stool.
Yep.
Which I think challenges the mind a little bit because I did not know that was a thing. Of course you can do that stuff. I didn't know that I would ever come into contact with somebody that would look at my stool to tell me more about my diet.
I always say, if you're going, if you're going for blood work, I would highly recommend doing it 2 times a year, right? So you have the starting point and an end point. So you have an idea.
I hate giving blood.
Most people don't even.
It's the fact that I just blew my vein out.
That is impressive.
That nurse really
did you a number.
Shined a light. You're a nurse for sure.
No, it wasn't. That was crazy.
Not that you know of. Yeah.
But with the blood work, if you're doing annual blood work, I always say doing an annual stool sample, right? Because you're always eating for 2. You're eating for you and your microbiome, and so a stool sample is going to tell you internally, right? Your ecosystem, how it's functioning, right? So,
you ever done a stool sample?
I've not.
Yeah. I haven't either.
Yeah.
No.
So like acid reflux, GERD, seeing certain bacterial strains. I mean, I have some people like overdoing it on probiotics. You can make that worse. And again, God forbid, it kind of that ecosystem pierces through the gut intestines, right? Then you can start to see issues on blood work. And that's like worst case scenario. So I would say everyone has some lingering gut stuff.
Can
Poop
your
stuff.
stool sample tell you that I eat too much spicy food?
No, but you're probably
Guys, my wife would be thrilled if you could tell me to stop eating spicy food.
Brock is the same way. He's like, I love spicy, but I get tore up with it.
Yeah.
So
we should, Brock being your fiance, we should get him on the episode at some point.
Hey, we're looking at all specialties here. So being a lawyer
with personal injury cases, and workers' comp. It's not a bad world.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit.
I was going to say, tell us about yourself and kind of how you became a registered dietitian.
Yeah, because actually I don't know this.
I don't either.
That is a fully loaded question. So I always had like nutrition and wellness was really, really big in our family. And I remember when I was really young, this is gonna be like another like fun fact about me. In first grade, I actually spent all of first grade in a wheelchair. I was what you would quote unquote say.
Why are we just
now learning this? We've known them for almost half a year now.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with Heno-Schönlein purpura. So it was like it was a vascular issue, that's what I was told. I tried to pull records. My mom was like, no, I don't want to relive that time of our life, but
the trauma.
But for some reason I had a reaction to something, and I could not walk. I remember, being dragged around different hospitals, and it was a 1 in a million incident, and it only happens in men. I'm not a man. I'm a woman.
I'll say I have questions. There, that did not answer. It just posed more.
So after that, the children's hospital was like, we don't know what to do with this. This is like literally a 1 in a million case. This isn't treatable. Just go home and see if just come in every single day for a urine sample.
Every single day.
Every single day, because I was like on the verge of kidney failure.
Oh wow.
They wanted to see if there was anything going on with my kidneys, and long story short, my dad was like, let's look into the food we're eating. I wonder if there's something going on with what we're eating or what's around us or whatever. And so my dad kind of kickstarted the whole health and wellness thing in our house. And then I went on, played volleyball. I struggled with like eating and athletic performance and all that kind of stuff. So it was always like nutrition was always like a side hustle, side study for me. And that wasn't really until college. I did psychology, and I was like, I love to talk to people. I love to figure out. I'm nosy.
That part.
Right, that part. And nutrition and psychology go hand in hand together. We all make decisions, right? Like you choose what you eat day to day.
I mean, arguably, nutrition and psychology are so integral because just the thought and the action of what to eat versus what not to eat, diets, all of that is so psychologically rooted. And the things that people do. I mean, look at eating disorders like bulimia and things like that, right? Yeah. It's all based in psychology.
Yeah. So I just was like, all right, well, let's look a little bit deeper. I was definitely a late bloomer first in my household to go to college, so I was like the test bunny of the household. So I was like, all right, let's do this thing. So I went overseas, played some volleyball. That's not
the word I would compare you to. I would not compare you to a bunny. That's an animal.
Just keep them fluffy.
It feels like a leopard, maybe.
Right.
I don't know about him.
So yeah, went overseas, played some volleyball. This was before COVID. COVID happened. Sent me back. But really, I think what really sent me over the edge was my internship and being in the hospital setting, like a very, very acute hospital sense. I absolutely hated it, and I knew I wanted private practice. I mean, in my personal opinion, I don't think really dietitians belong in the hospital setting unless if you are hooked up to, tubes and ICUs and things like that. But it was very, very hard to build that relationship, build that connection, because 1 minute they're there, the next they're discharged.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree with you. The acute setting is a challenge for sure.
Challenge.
They're just in and out so quick.
So is that what you didn't like a hospital?
Yes, not only that, but it was like I saw our food system in the kitchen, and it was we're giving the sickest of the sick, like things like Boost and Ensure, things that the ingredients in there are so
sugar-free Jello,
pro-inflammatory that I cried, and I went down a rabbit hole, and it's like there was this one physician in Canada who actually worked towards removing those products out of the kitchens, and actually instead of the kitchens replacing it with blenders and actually blending up fresh fruits, vegetables, putting vitamins, minerals back into it. And it was really hard. It was very pitiful to see that, and I was like, I know I don't want this. I want to build relationships with my clients and kind of go on this journey, because if you for 50 years of your life you've been taught certain thinking and a certain way of eating, I cannot just I'm not a magician. I wish I was. I would be here. Right. But
I say that all the time.
But if I can't just all of a sudden change the way that you think or you eat. Right? there has to be buy-in. And so I was like, sayonara. Definitely no. It was a great learning curve. I'm happy I did it. And so I'm like, private practice, doing what I do now, it's really is amazing, because you are day to day. I'm like in someone's pocket, right? My fitness pal, right? Or I'm like, people plug in my meal plans on ChatGPT, and they're like, it feels like Nicole's in my pocket. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into
master's degree, right?
Yeah, master's in nutritional science. That was a wild time because I did it overseas in England. So everyone
I didn't know that either.
Why are we learning so many new things right now? This is incredible.
I live in England. Yeah, so after my
wheelchair,
I knew that piece, but I didn't know you actually went to school.
Yes.
Wow, way to not share that piece with me.
Yeah.
You leave me out of everything. Oh, shut up all the time.
Whatever. No.
Just tell me to shut up on the podcast. That's kind of rude.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shut
up. All right, sassy.
Yeah.
You see what I deal with every day in the clinic? This is my life.
He's giving it right back to you, though.
Yeah, well, probably I deserve it today. I was kind of mean to him today.
Small wins, kid.
Nothing more said.
Small wins.
That's all.
But Zach Hart is.
Anyways, continue. Your master's degree in England.
Yeah, master's degree in England, and all of my not co-workers, co-students, what do we call them? Colleagues, thank you. Colleagues were all bachelors in nutrition, knew everything. So there was believe it or not, a huge language barrier. Even though they speak English there, their dialect, the semantics is totally different. So I was like just sitting in this classroom, someone from Scotland is teaching, and I'm like, oh no. Like, what is going on? So that was a wild ride. It was fun. I got to travel a lot, play volleyball, see, different parts of the world and how they operate. But that was interesting. Would I do it again? Probably not.
No? Really?
Old.
After you went and traveled all that much,
it's hard going from not knowing anything to being plowed. And I think so, like in America, right, there has to be some type of trail of, like, if you're going into, I don't know, law, like, he's doing criminal justice in undergrad or something. Mm-hmm. But I just went from psychology to just straight master's in nutrition.
You can do that in PT school. Doesn't matter what undergrad degree you get, you can get your PT degree.
You can major in music.
Yeah.
And still get your PT degree.
We have somebody that majored in actuarial sciences in my PT class.
What is that?
It's like the people that calculate risk.
Oh, that's actually pretty valuable, actually.
Another fun fact, I at one point had a degree. I was wanting to do an undergraduate degree in botany.
Oh,
I would love that, honestly.
That was very short-lived.
I thought about doing my undergraduate degree in microbiology. That was also short-lived. Yeah. Although really cool.
Yeah,
short-lived.
Very cool.
Okay, so walk us through your day-to-day. What do you do? Like, what, I don't, like, because truthfully, we refer people to you all the time. Mm-hmm. And, part of the draw for referring folks to you is the flexibility and the convenience that people don't know exists, right? Because, what is it? Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna and Aetna, at least in the state of North Carolina, consider nutrition, a registered dietitian, as a preventative measure. So it's covered by insurance.
Correct.
United Healthcare has standards such as a BMI above 25.
There's other like proof, like some discrepancies, and I will actually say I always tell people, if you don't know, like we are 100% not covered under Medicaid.
Yes.
Right, but I say we have this whole list, this kind of cheat sheet of insurance. And I always say, if you're really, really interested, just still make an introductory call, just have a phone call, because I can still help you verify your benefits, right? I can give you all of the codes, whatever you need to call your insurance company, because most people have it, they just don't know it. You're paying for nutrition services, you just don't know
You
it.
just don't know it. Yeah. Which, I mean, we had that big episode where we talked about everything that people are paying for and have no idea.
Yeah.
Because it's not clearly explained to them, and they get their little booklet and they go, "Oh, cute," and throw it away.
Yep.
Well, that's probably what they want to happen.
Present, accounted for.
It's probably what they want to happen, because they don't want to pay for more stuff, you know, because all preventative care is free for us, but then they have to pay for it. So
but then, what do we do cortisone shots then?
Same thing with my stool test.
That's a whole other thing.
I get so sad.
That is sad. I mean, that is the hard part about like, now, not every registered dietitian does stool samples. Right? Yeah. Because you are considered a functional dietitian.
I like to have that more functional aspect in nutrition. And I think too, here's my take. I don't have any issue with modern medicine, and I actually really think it was more implemented, like stool samples. But I do believe our physicians are overworked and underpaid. Right. I think the system in itself, it's they want to churn out a lot, and maybe we don't see it, but behind the scenes, I think it's how can we make a lot of money and see a lot of clients. Exactly. I remember growing up, my PCP appointments were anywhere between 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Now it's 15.
Yes. Not even 15. It's not even 10.
Well, pediatrics.
You're much nicer than we are, because we definitely have a problem with modern medicine. So
yeah, we'll ditch it.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Anyway, so functional medicine, what other specialties and things that you kind of specialize in?
Pediatrics, only because I started off actually fresh out of school. I went into eating disorder work, so I worked with all kiddos with anorexia, bulimia, any type of disordered eating. That was believe it or not, it was very hard. It was really, really hard going to work day in and day out, because it was a residential facility, and seeing very young kids think very poorly of themselves.
Oh yeah.
What's the youngest kid you've ever seen?
8.
8.
With an eating disorder?
With an eating disorder. And that kid more had ARFID.
Rough.
So picky, very severe picky eating.
Ugh. That's tough.
I got chicken nuggets. I got really good at dodging food. I got like chicken nuggets, like soup thrown at me, you name it.
That's hard. Pediatrics is hard as a whole, though.
Yeah, it is.
It's really challenging as a whole in every field, I think. So,
yeah.
Okay, so back to what I was saying. Describe, like, what are you doing with the client? Like, if someone calls you right now that's listening to this and say, "Hey, I want to do dietitian. I want to, see a registered dietitian," which, by the way, is easily available. What does that look like?
Well, first, I would love for them to come in. Typically, initial like to be in person. We have something in the clinic called an in-body machine. If you guys are familiar with a DEXA, a DEXA is probably one of the better ways of measuring whether it's bone density, muscle mass, fat, all that kind of stuff. It's very expensive, and I commonly saw a lot with my anorexic patients that early on were beginning to have osteoporosis. We would send out for DEXAs. So the in-body the results are about 2% off from the DEXA. So not bad. You keep your clothes on. Fantastic. And
needed to be said.
Yeah.
Needed to be said.
That out there.
Yeah. We're not getting that comfortable. But the next part is I see this really, really commonly with my female population is they step on a scale at home, they see a number they don't like, and then they panic. And then they say, I suck, I fail, I need to go and diet. And I tell people I'm not in the business of selling a diet, I'm in the business of selling a lifestyle. The nice part with that in-body is you step on a scale, you see the 200, and it disseminates to 200. Tells me, hey, how much of the 200 is lean body mass, right? And there I can calculate a bare minimum of protein. Tells me body fat percentage. It tells me muscle mass. Can also tell me segmental analysis, right? Left from right. For example, if I see someone is very, very right side dominant, I'll be like, hey, it might be interesting to go see maybe one of our PTs, right? If you really favor walking right on one side than the other. So I usually start with the in-body to get data, right? At someone's comfort. If someone's really not comfortable to see the numbers, then I'll cover it and I'll just kind of have it for myself. But most of the time, I always say, you should know where you're at. That's your blueprint. That's your finger.
A
baseline.
Right.
And I think too, a lot of people have fear because you only know what you know, right? And fear is instilled from not knowing. And so I think we're in a position to essentially help educate people. Hey, it's 200 pounds, but you just, popped out 2 kids, right? Like, you're working really, really long hours. You're also working out. There's so many other things that come into that 200 pounds or whatever their weight is. So I start off with the baseline data, and then my initials can be anywhere from like an hour, hour and a half. And I love to ask, in-depth questions: sleep, your lifestyle, activity, where do you grocery shop? If you have to go for fast food, where are we fast fooding at? Because it gives, the more information you share with me, the better idea I have to make you an individual plan that's for you. Typically after that, follow-up sessions, I love to, sit and divulge into, calories, macros, how to incorporate that day to day. Sometimes I'll go grocery shopping with clients. I've done that before. That's fun. Maybe going for a walk in a park. I have offered. People are not taking me on my offer. Maybe it was because it was cold. But guys, spring and summer is on the horizon.
I'd go for a walk.
I will go for a walk with you. We will get our rucksacks on and we will go for a walk.
I literally never heard the word rucksack until I moved to the South.
Rucksack?
Really?
I've always heard weighted vest.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Is that what a rucksack is?
No.
I feel like rucksacks are more like military. I think of military.
It's like more on your back, and it's just like a bunch of weight.
Like Teenage Ninja Turtle.
It's simulating like carrying like a.
That is more confusing than it is helpful. Just so you're aware.
It's a rucksack is like simulating like carrying like a bunch of equipment into the battlefield.
Yeah.
So a weighted vest is like from the front and the back, and it's not as much weight.
Our longtime friend of the podcast, Briar, always asked me to go rucking with him on the weekends, and I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I'm gonna pretend like
I need to go. I've been meaning to go.
You really should make plans the way you do.
I don't say like, hey, we're going this day. I'm saying like, yeah, I'd like to go.
And then 8 months later, we need to go. We need to go.
It's happening. It's the same thing with the bourbon trail. Just pull the plug. Just do it.
I'm telling you. I keep trying to get him to do that. He will not do it. Sorry, Amanda.
We got our life planned out in this like little note. It's there for the next several weeks, months. We like to plan. We'll get
80 years old. Are you going to be happy that you looked back and said, I planned my life in this little note?
It helps us keep organized, okay?
Okay.
It does. It does.
You are definitely the most organized person. That's for sure.
Anyway, ignoring him. What are some unique diagnoses, things that you've seen as your time as an RD? Because we have multiple clients that, may have like stuff like hormonal headaches, other things that, people may not know that you could help with. Mm-hmm. What are those things?
I'm going to say the one thing that comes to mind is autoimmune. And I don't think that the conversation, either there is a lack of knowledge, because remember, going to medical school, you were pounded with a lot of information. There is only a certain amount of threshold that you can provide to a client. I very commonly see thyroid, especially hypothyroidism, so an underactive thyroid that turns into Hashimoto's, okay, which is, again, autoimmune. And I always tell people, I said, well, have you had, certain specific labs tested for Hashimoto's? And they're like, well, no. And I said, so then how are you diagnosed with like hypothyroidism? And just having hypothyroidism doesn't mean you have Hashimoto's and vice versa. But they're two separate ways of attacking them, right? Hypothyroidism is a thyroid issue, a metabolic issue. Hashimoto's is an autoimmune condition, right? Mm-hmm. So I always look at the gut and I'm like, all right, well, something is misfiring, right? Either, your own cells are attacking, right, your thyroid gland. So can we calm down the immune system? Can we calm down the gut? Because truly, you are what you eat. There's only one way to live, and it's food. There's nothing else. You're not eating, wallpaper and like, oh, this is great, calorically dense.
Calorically dense. We do not condone eating wallpaper, regardless of how calorically dense it is. It's not a sponsor of wallpaper.
Of wallpaper. But commonly I see a lot of autoimmune, and that conversation isn't being had. And I think that's where, again, things like a stool sample and a GI map really pulls a hood under the car, and I can say, whoa, like, do you realize how much of your ecosystem has died off? Right? And, you're having a constant immune reaction. Immune reaction is just taking a hit. You got to calm all of it down. So that's really honestly the one that I see very commonly is autoimmune, because it really is there's still this mystery, this question mark of like,
Yeah.
huh? And there is no really like one way to attack it. I think it's like multiple systems, and it really does affect so many things. But I always use the phrase peel back the layers of an onion. And you'll realize in my work, I sometimes don't move forward. I'll sometimes actually move backwards because I want to kind of figure out, and you guys do the same thing too, right? With maybe referred pain, right? I might say, hey, it hurts here, but then you'll be like, well, how about, your shoulders? So you peel back the layers of the onion, right, and actually look at, how I'm moving, how I'm swinging, and you're like, oh, and I had no idea until you guys pointed it out to me. I could even do a push-up. I couldn't do a push-up.
Still can't do it.
Still weak sauce. The weak sauce. So is that your favorite phrase over grow up?
Grow up is number one.
You do tell me you grow up a lot, and I do have a problem with it.
Grow up.
Yeah. There it is. Okay. Right. So let's talk about the question that everybody's going to want to hear when they hear about a registered dietitian.
Yeah.
Let's talk about weight loss. Because that is, I mean, we send people to you all the time, and very rarely is it, oh yeah, I just want to eat better. No, it's I want to lose weight.
Yeah.
And I mean, even the structure from insurance is designed for you to like for them to have a weight issue in order to come to you, which I don't necessarily think is the best option in the world, but in terms of having insurance display it that way. But let's talk about it. And the questions that I want to talk about are threefold, I think. First of all, I want to talk about BMI because I think that is it's a misnomered thing that it's old school, it's antiquated, it's out of date. Second, I want to talk about appropriate weight loss because we hear a lot of people come in, oh, how you doing? Oh, great, I lost 20 pounds last week. Hold on, wait a second, hold on, wait, that's a red flag, time out, wait a minute. And lastly, I want to talk about fad diets, and I want to talk about what we truly know are effective ways of weight loss versus what are we reading on Dr. Google, TikTok, social media, and how is that effective. So can we touch on those three things?
Dr. Google. Yeah.
It's my favorite doctor, actually.
BMI, I really do.
Such a lie.
Dr. Google. I'm a doctor.
Why would you get me in trouble? Like, why? What did I do to you? How did I hurt you today?
Perfect.
How did I hurt you today?
Perfect.
Of course it is my
perfect.
Wife. How did I hurt you today enough for you to throw?
That was just perfect.
I'm sleeping outside. Thank you.
We'll just
edit
that part out.
No, that's what I deserve for the amenities.
Dada. Sing your song, Dada.
He's gonna look back at this in 10 years and be like, you messed up, Dad. I should have said, Mom, what are you doing?
Right.
Anyway, okay, before I was kicked out of my own home. BMI, let's go.
And so actually one thing on the InBody I really wish that could be taken off by the company by InBody is they actually do list BMI, and I literally the first thing I do when I sit with a client is I take my big old fat Sharpie and I go just start Xing out. The client's looking at you like, what do you mean? But like that's like I need to know this. I really need to know this. Is I healthy? And I say Michael Phelps is a whatever time gold medalist. If you were to put Michael Phelps's parameters into Dr. Google, he is literally like obese category 3. And I tell people that all the time.
Wait, really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Muscle mass.
Wow.
Muscle mass.
Yeah.
So what is BMI? Let's go into that, right? Because a lot of people hear the word BMI, I have no idea what it is.
BMI is literally just telling me from your height to weight. So, if you're, it's recommended. So there's a chart, you find your height, and then you find your weight at the bottom, you come to a box, and it tells you, okay, what your BMI is, right? And then they can sometimes also recommend where to be at. But it doesn't take into consideration lifestyle, working out. There's so many other things to that. And so
body morphology.
Exactly. Really, BMI was designed for people with low quality of life, whether it's, being handicapped or being in a very bigger body. But for day-to-day individuals, it's not telling me anything, truly.
That's definitely how I'm going to describe myself moving forward when I feel a little fat. This is my bigger body.
Yes, exactly.
And the hard part is, and we have discussed this before, but BMI is so societally used as a qualification or a checkpoint for so many things. Surgeries, healthcare in general, insurance premiums, all of this
medication
dosing. Like it's used so, elevators and stuff like that, right? Weight limits and capacities and stuff. We use it in so many ways, and it's just wild because it is antiquated. because it does not track with. I mean, again, I like to bring up Breyer because he's just a good friend of the show. That man's BMI has him probably category 3 obese.
Yeah.
That man is not obese.
No.
He is literally 98% muscle.
Another great example is actually, small story is one of my clients who insurance is denying this person. Their sleep is so heavily impacted. This person is sleeping 3 hours a night due to being overweight. But remember, sleep is very.
I feel that, but
sleep is very helpful for what? Restoration and all of the other things, and it's not helping. Sure, can this person make better food choices? Yes. But again, it's not just looking at food, it's looking at so many other things. And it really is like a domino effect, right? Weight loss is like the cherry on top. That's like the pinnacle. That's the long-term goal. And that's why I ask, what are you doing day to day? Are you getting your steps in? Are you a couch potato? How is your sleep? Are you showering? Are you taking care of yourself, your mental health, all these things? And this person needs to get down to a certain BMI. And the surgeon said, if the day of the surgery, it's for a CPAP, I think it's like Inspire, Aspire, something like that. The day of the surgery, if this client steps on a scale and is not at that BMI, they will cancel the surgery. Preface, the insurance will cancel the surgery.
Oh, that's the surgery. So the Inspire, because I'm actually looking at getting that done because I have mild sleep apnea, is a slit in the throat where they attach a stimulator to your hypoglossal nerve.
Okay.
So that when you fall asleep at night, your throat physically cannot close, and when it tries to close, the stimulator will stimulate the nerve to keep it open.
Do you essentially plug something?
It's literally like a small little device that goes on the hypoglossal nerve to stimulate.
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah.
So and it's again traditionally, if you meet the requirements, should be covered by insurance.
Yes.
Which is really nice for folks with sleep apnea who get kicked out of the bedroom because they snore a lot.
And a lot of those CPAP machines, honestly, are kind of nasty and gross because if you're not on top of it with cleaning, hello, mold central.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so BMI, antiquated, out of date. Don't listen to it.
Yeah.
Talk to me about weight loss.
Ooh, again.
So I want to put this question in the ether first. How much weight should a person safely lose in a week?
I would say anywhere between half to a pound. I think is sustainable. You're not losing your mind. And I think clients come through the door, bust through the door, and they're like, I got a wedding coming up in 2 months. I need to drop 10 pounds. And I'm like, okay, we can drop the 10 pounds. But again, what is going to happen after the wedding? You're going to go back to the way everything was. Because at that point, then your textbook definition of insanity. Doing the same things over and over, hoping for a different result. So that's why I always tell people, I'm not going to sell you a diet. There is no diet. Like maybe intermittent fasting is great. I think fantastic for people who have like very high disease states, specifically cancer. Okay. Killing off.
Just say my name next time, God.
Right.
So last 5
intermittent
years.
fasting, or if someone, for example, has a like nighttime eating or binge eating, I would actually highly recommend intermittent fasting. But again, the body's resilient, and the problem with these diets is they only works for a certain amount of time until the body figures out what the hell you're trying to do.
It regulates.
It regulates.
It returns to homeostasis.
Exactly. And the body doesn't like to be in fat gain or fat loss. It likes to be where it likes to be. We call that set point theory, right? Where we like to fluctuate plus or minus 10 pounds. Okay, so when people start to diet, we see it as, oh, I'm dieting and we're trying to lose weight. The body sees that, what the hell are you doing, Karen? Right?
Karen. It's got to be a Karen.
So the body's trying to figure out, I don't like doing this. What are you doing? And it's trying to figure out what you're doing until it catches up and then says, all right, you're done. So a lot of people who do intermittent fasting or keto or these diets, lose what they need to lose. Most of the time it's water weight. And then they hit a plateau and they're like, oh, I'm done losing weight. Clearly my body has failed for me. And I'm like, the body's resilient. It will know what you're trying to do. Right?
And your folks that come in, because we get this a lot. Hey, I've been working on losing weight. That's great. Yeah, I have lost 30 pounds in the past 3 weeks. What are they seeing there? What is that weight loss? Because I've historically always told patients that's water weight.
Yeah.
You stop taking in the same amount of fluids that you were taking in, so your body's actually in a dehydrated state.
Yep.
And you have less water mass, which is why you see such a rapid drop in the scale. Yes. Is that accurate?
I would say yes. And another thing is, people are very black and white. They will go from one extreme to the next. And the other nice part too about the in-body is it tells us your basal metabolic rate. And I always like to say that is the bare minimum amount of calories that you should be eating day to day. No more, no less. That obviously fluctuates with weight gain and weight loss, but I always say, if you are at, 5'5" and your basal metabolic rate is 2,800 calories, you're going to need a lot more calories to sustain organ function. Imagine if it's like post-apocalyptic, right? Zombies are walking around. You're going to need to find 2,800 calories to sustain. So I would always say, try to aim for, again, a lower BMR because, again, BMR is for just organ function. If you just laid in bed, did nothing for the rest of your life, okay? So again, a lower BMR is telling us, hey, you're able to sustain normal healthy functions with less calories. So I would say 30 pounds is going to be a lot of water weight, and or very hard caloric deficits. That again, you're going to feel naturally hungry. You're going to stick with it for 2 weeks. And then you're going to hate it and say, this is not sustainable.
I have a very important question.
I was going to say that's a good segment into what I was going to ask. But go ahead.
What zombies?
Oh.
So are we talking like zombies are we talking? This is important, right? If I have a 2,800 calorie deficit and we're talking the zombies from, what's that movie with
Brad Pitt. World War Z.
Yeah, we're talking World War Z zombies. Just take me out. I'll just let them eat me because there ain't no way I'm getting 2,800 calories in World War Z zombies. There's no way. But if we're talking like Last of Us clickers, well, that's easy. Or if we're talking, Dawn of the Dead, that's easy. If we're talking The Walking Dead, man, those motherfuckers are slow. We're good.
Literally walking. Yeah.
Yeah, they're walking. I can get 2,800 calories then. I'm just curious. Like, these are the hard hitting questions.
You know what? Dealer's choice.
Perfect. Okay, we're going.
Anyway, I was gonna ask. So, if 2 weeks go by and they're like, "Hey, I don't know if this is working for me, and this, I'm starting to drop off," how do you get them back on track?
I will say, I actually am kind of point blank and blunt with my clients and kind of say, "Hey,
love it."
Because I think at the end of the day, it's not about me, it's about the client. And so there's this level of professionalism. I'm not like, cussing out people, but you say you want a goal, and I think people just need a friend. They need an accountability partner and saying, what is working, what is not? Are some of the calories or the macro goals that I set for you unrealistic? Are you having a hard time? Okay, we alter them. Hey, do you want me in your pocket? All right, let's get on MyFitnessPal. Okay. Or even there's things like ChatGPT. Sure, it's not the greatest with like being specific, but ChatGPT actually can crank out really fun recipes, right? Where a lot of people take my nutrition plan, put it into ChatGPT, and it literally churns out different ways to incorporate 1,600 calories throughout your day.
The world of AI.
Exactly. The world of AI. Or just saying, hey, okay, let's press reset. Or again, where's your mindset? Because if none of this should be stressful. That's why I tell clients all the time. Working together should not be stressful. This shouldn't be stressful. This should be enjoyable.
Yes.
And so we kind of figure out where can we make it enjoyable, right? If you are someone who does not have the capability of being the next Gordon Ramsay and standing in the kitchen for 10 hours straight making gourmet meals, I'm not expecting that of you, right? If you are through the Chick-fil-A drive-thru or you're going through Mickey D's, we sit together and we say, okay, you don't have the threshold right now to be standing in the kitchen cooking. Let's look at the menus together and let's make better options, better choices.
Let's please say that Chick-fil-A and McDonald's aren't very opposite ends of the spectrum.
True.
For my personal well-being and my mental health.
How about Portillo's? Have you been to Portillo's?
The hot dogs are so good.
Okay.
I've never
so good. The chocolate cheese, the chocolate
You
cake.
need to grow up.
Where the heck is a Portillo's?
Not here. Oh, actually,
The
there might be
Midwest.
one in Ohio or Indiana.
There's one in Indiana.
Branching out.
Right next to a Topgolf.
These are not Missouri or Arkansas.
Yeah, so I guess Missouri's not as good as you say it is.
You're from Arkansas? Or Kansas?
Arkansas is where you went to school.
You
Kansas.
I don't know.
Kansas City.
See, I don't know all about it.
So the thing that I always say is, and this is what I tell patients, because they'll come to us all the time. They'll be like, I want to lose weight. How do I lose weight? We get that question so much. Daily.
Yeah.
And I look at them and I say, I don't care what diet you follow out there in the world.
Yeah.
I don't care what carnivore diet, pescatarian diet, intermittent fasting, whatever. The only true way that we know that we experience weight loss is less calories in than calories out.
Correct.
Is that very correct?
That's true. And I would say calories in is the easiest, and that's not even a twofold two. So calories in is the easiest to figure out because there's only one way, right? You're putting calories in. You're not absorbing it through your skin. Calories out is a little bit harder. It's, again, metabolism, hormonal health, lifestyle, what you're doing, activities. So that's just a little finicky, and that's why I like to use tools like MyFitnessPal. It can get tedious and monotonous to be tracking. I'm not asking for a lifetime commitment. If you can track, 2-3 weeks, a month, because I want you to be able to see, well, I did not realize I'm eating healthy. As Karen comes through the door and goes, oh, well, I'm eating healthy. I'm eating fish and salads. Great. Tons of nutrition in it. Not calorically dense.
Mm-hmm.
Not calorically dense. And a lot
What's in that salad dressing?
That part.
Fats, right? And a lot of people, even though they're eating healthy fats, avocados, butter, olive oil, avocado oil, it's still a macro. You're still overdoing it. Mm-hmm. 2 tablespoons of olive oil, it's like almost 15-20 grams of fat.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're trying to lose weight, your goals might be anywhere between 50 to 80 grams. I mean, you're going to knock that out real quick.
Speaking of Chick-fil-A, the Chick-fil-A sauce is loaded with fat.
Loaded.
See, I didn't know.
It's so unfortunate because I love the Chick-fil-A sauce. It's so good.
But that's so, like, when I started the journey with you guys, mm-hmm. like going through MyFitnessPal and putting all that stuff in there, I had no idea that Chick-fil-A sauce had that much fat. Yep. And that was partly why I had a lot more fat in my body, more fat in my diet, because I just didn't know how much fat I was eating.
And it's good. It's a really good place to, at least, if you want to put pen to paper, or if you want to do, like I said, even ChatGPT, you can take a picture of your plate, send it through, and it kind of gives you a rough estimate, right, of what the macros are on that food. So there's so many resources. You just have to do it. And
it doesn't have a lot of bad stuff in it.
What?
Buffalo sauce.
Oh. It's spicy.
Because no, it's not even because it's spicy. It literally, like, buffalo sauce.
It's just hot sauce, like water.
Like hot sauce. Yeah, hot sauce and buffalo sauce. Yeah. It's salt, vinegar. That's it. And sometimes it's not even salt. Sometimes it's just vinegar and chili peppers.
Some of the best sauce, and you probably know this too. It's like barbecue sauce is a great comment, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Why? Isn't it?
Where are you going with this?
Yeah, where are you going with this? Did you just say barbecue sauce?
Yeah, barbecue sauce. Like, apparently, for what I've seen, some of the, like, I've looked at a lot of my barbecue sauces. I'm like, this actually has better calories, less fat,
I would just be
less sugar.
Like added sugar. So, like,
Okay, yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Fantastic. Growing up, when it first came up, it was actually from Illinois. When it first came up, there was a restaurant in Wooddale, Illinois. We would smack some Sweet Baby Ray's every day. Spam them. But they actually made their barbecue sauces on sugar, and then they got so big in commercial, they switched over to high fructose corn syrup. Very, very high commercial, right? And
so I guess that's not good.
Some people would fight me for high fructose.
That's why you said that, and I was like, "Kid, what are you getting at here?"
I guess it's better than ketchup, right?
Again, I think it's
just depends. And I think it depends on the brands. Yeah,
that's why it's special.
But that's what but realistically, like hot sauce and buffalo sauce. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying that to be funny, although I love those things. It's a great alternative to just bland food, right? Because I love Chick-fil-A sauce. It's not good for you. Correct. But Chick-fil-A's buffalo sauce has no sugar, very minimal fat, and it still adds a ton of flavor without overdoing the heat for a lot of your food. Sure. So if you can tolerate that, it's a great way to stomach some food that you don't like, right? Yeah. And I've told people that for years. They're like, oh, food's bland. Get some hot sauce. Yeah. It's what, 2 calories per tablespoon? Like, it's very minimal calorically. Yeah. And it just adds flavor without, now you gotta be careful, you can get ulcers. Yeah. But, it's just one of those things, right? But also, why do you guys shamelessly plug where you're from? Like, am I the only person in the room that doesn't do that?
You go from, like, squirrel to squirrel.
You shamelessly plug Kansas City. You plug Chicago all the time, which, I mean, fine. I never plug Indiana. I could care less to plug Indiana.
When I drive through Indiana, I would rather, I don't know, swim the Atlantic than drive through Indiana.
I had a brand new eval who was a doctor the other day, and he did his residency in Indiana. And it's always very funny because anytime I run into somebody from Indiana and I find out they're from Indiana, we always go, "You're from Indiana? You're from Indiana?" It's very sad and depressing.
I just knew I still had 30 minutes to go when I saw that one plate. It's like an area in Indiana where there's, like, a lot of windmills. Yeah. It's like by Gary, Indiana. I'm like, oh my God, thank God, 30 more minutes. Can't deal with this anymore. And for some reason, there's always a lot of car accidents. 2 lanes, flat land. I'm like, what are you people doing?
Well, and I'll tell you the reason why. First of all the speed limits in Indiana are like 50 or under, even on the highway, which is nuts. Because how do you go 50 on a highway? I don't know. But 2 is traffic in Indiana is very different from here. Because traffic in Indiana, you can have like a half a car length space in between you and the next car, and you better believe Jack Jim, who's trying to get home at 6 o'clock at night, is going to slide his happy ass right in there. And if he hits you, oh well, he hits you, but he'll do his damnedest to slide in there. So when I move down here and everybody's pansy ass driving like 20 miles an hour in a 70 when it's raining, I'm like, woohoo! Like, what is this?
Fact, I actually lived in Connecticut for a while. My first year of undergrad, I was in Connecticut. That was miserable. There was nothing in Connecticut. Nothing.
I feel like I thought Connecticut was kind of beautiful.
I've
never been
there.
I am terrified to drive in Chicago. My stepdad's from Chicago, and he drove us one time.
And actually, that's one thing I realized too. Is like in Raleigh, everyone is driving extremely. I'm like literally the first lane is the fast lane. Get out. What are you doing here?
I'm convinced that there's not a fast lane in North Carolina. I really, truly, unless you're like in the middle of the highway in between cities, because that's where all the muscle cars and motorbikes are going like 120 miles per hour. But
the 540 has a fast lane in all 4 lanes.
You drive 540.
It's a toll route. But
so back to this, I want to kind of wrap up a little bit of what we've been going through, because I think this has been a very integral discussion. I think we could even do this for a whole nother episode. Mm-hmm. But give me 3 things that you think that you wish everybody would know in terms of being a registered dietitian, how you can help them and they can help you, and just what we as consumers of Americanized food in the economy and the world that we live in need to know.
1, read labels. There's a lot of greenwashing happening where something will say, it's easier to sell something low calorie and then you flip it and there's 900 fucking ingredients. Right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You look at a label and you're like, oh, USDA organic and fair trade certified and only 90 calories. And then you flip back to the label and it's like just, no. I always say, if you can't read it, can you find it on the shelf? Right? Now, again, in a sense of moderation, do I enjoy things like Ben & Jerry's, and there's things in Ben & Jerry's that aren't great? Am I slamming back pints of Ben & Jerry's every single day? No.
I would.
But it's like the big picture of read the label. You'd be very surprised. And again, nutrition label, facts reading, ingredients, we do all of that, together in sessions. Like I said, I will go grocery shopping and actually help, because the grocery store is very overwhelming. Extremely overwhelming.
The grocery store.
And that's why I will spend my red flag, beige flag, whatever flags there are, I will spend 3 hours. Ask Brock. I will spend copious amounts of hours in a grocery store, going through every aisle, even though I just spent 3 hours 2 days ago and none of the product has changed. I'm like, oh.
I wanted to be very nice and say, no, that's a beige flag, but the more you talk about it, the more I'm like, yeah, that's a big red flag.
That's why Brock's like, here's my credit card.
I'm gonna go golf. You go grocery shopping.
Just go.
We're good.
So I would say reading food labels, you'd be very surprised. Again, marketing teams of these corporations do a fantastic job. Fantastic job. Second one, if you don't eat a salad for the rest of your fucking life, fantastic. You're not a rabbit. And I think people think I'm dieting, I need to lose weight, I need to eat salads. And that goes back to what I was saying. Salads and healthy foods like salmons and fish and all these things, again, they are great. They have their they have their purpose. Even if you put an egg in there and all these vegetables, there's so many other nutrients in it, but it's not calorically dense, right? And calories still matter, and that's why when I build meal plans, I don't have people focus on calories. Rather, I focus on calories, build their macros from their calories. So if you meet your macro goals, you're meeting your calorie goals. But if you're just focusing on calories, you can slam back 1,600 calories of Oreos. And you eat 5 grams of protein on a day. So.
And just for people, macros are fats, carbs, and proteins. Because I don't think we've talked about that.
And the macros are really the building blocks of good nutrition.
Yep.
Those 3.
Yep. And then the third one, I would just say walk. I think people, it's 80% what you do, 20%, or 80% what you eat, 20% what you do. I think people sometimes overcomplicate things, and they're like, getting into a gym is fantastic, right? Getting a personal trainer is fantastic. If you have no idea what to do with machines, you have no idea where to start and have someone build your plan. But I think, again, I would rather, you can't outwork a shitty diet. And the same thing with supplements. I had a client came in recently with a whole basket of 30 supplements. I treat that as you just came in with 30 different pharmaceutical drugs. You know what I'm saying? You can't replace one with the other, and you still have to eat your food.
So supplements are much less regulated than pharmaceutical drugs.
Exactly. So
you gotta be careful.
Walk. Just walk. walking is the best thing you can do.
Fitness.
Adding a weighted vest, getting the heart rate just a little bit where it's not, severe, you're, 140 beats per minute, your cortisol is bumping, you're stressed out, you're under eating unintentionally, you're just flat out. No, just minimum, bare minimum, just walk. Start with 3,000 steps. Can you do that? Yeah. 5,000 for, every other 2 weeks. So yeah, that's where I would start.
On average, all excellent things of points of view.
We love all that.
On average, because it blew me away when you guys told me this, and I know it blows away a lot of my patients. How much protein should you take in a day? And then, follow-up question, how much protein should you take in one sitting? Like, how much protein can your body digest at a time? Because working in a gym, we get a lot of people where they're wake up, 30 grams of protein. Next meal, 50 grams of protein. Next meal, 90 grams of protein. They're walking around with a milk jug full of protein shake, and they're shoving protein down people's throats like it's the end-all be-all. Whether it's whey, pea, creatine, whatever. And it's just like, oh, bro, you're not getting enough protein in your body. So how much protein do we need in a day for your average person? And how much can we reasonably digest after one intake?
So that lean body mass that I told you, I really like to use that as a plus or minus threshold. So if someone comes in for the in-body and I see that their lean body mass is 100 pounds, I will say roughly for their goals to be anywhere between 90 to, let's just say, 115 grams of protein a day. So it's a good indicator. And that fluctuates with people with gain weight or lose weight.
That's still a lot more than most people think. I mean, most people realistically are like, yeah, I just need to get like 30, 40 like they're thrilled. Like, I got 30 grams of protein in today. Amazing. Do not let me dull your shine, but you need like 70 to 80
Don't
grams.
get me started on fiber. Most people are pooping once a week and full of shit. Fiber is, I actually started tracking my fiber. And even the position I'm at, I'm only doing 12, 15 grams of fiber. Really, for me, should be like more like 25. But I'm like, man, and don't even say like other people, right, that are eating the bare minimum, maybe aren't doing, fiber-rich foods, things like that. And they're literally bloated, distended, gassy, gassing out their partner, literally full of shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's another thing, too, that I work with people is you're wanting to lose weight. We also need to kind of peel back layers with that, right? Yeah. That there's so much more that goes to weight loss. So
the GI system is so integral.
So
how much protein can I digest reasonably?
So I see a lot of people walking around with those Fairlife nutrition
30 grams of protein.
30 grams of protein. I'm like, oh my. Now I always say, using an example of like breakfast, the word breaking a fast. Okay, imagine you're breaking a unintentional fast and you are dumping 30 grams of protein. That is a lot. That's a shock to the system. Now that specific product uses whey. If I have a lactose problem, now I'm really going to be gassing out. My coworkers, my partner, I'm going to be bloated. And that's actually a very common thing that I hear with people is they'll use some of these more cheaper pre-made shakes like Premier Protein.
Oof, because protein shakes are expensive.
I literally
get protein is not my favorite.
But that's the hype thing. That is the hype on the market is protein. But there's so many different variations to protein.
I mean, there's a whole aisle devoted to protein shakes.
Literally.
And then protein chips and protein cookies.
Or GNC.
Yes.
I mean, it's all, there's things that are protein now that I'm like, wait a minute, I have some protein pancakes downstairs. Fun fact, literally frozen protein pancakes. Not even the Kodiak ones, which are delicious. This is literally frozen protein pancakes. And I got to eat 3 of them to get 15 grams of protein in the morning. But now, the same thing, if I take that same Fairlife, because I drink that Fairlife, so I'll make my little iced coffee in the morning, and instead of putting sometimes I'll put my Fairlife skim milk in there, but then sometimes I'll just use the protein shake as my mixer in there. But I drink that over the course of like several hours.
Exactly.
So that's healthy and that's fine.
That's something I would rather in one sitting someone to take in anywhere between like 15, 20, 25, right? There's only 5 gram difference to 30, but I would also recommend pairing that with something else, like exactly what you said, and spacing it out, right? Working on breakfast, having a snack, lunch. But the other thing too is with these shakes, I would be only really using them as snacks. 'Cause I always say, if you're just swallowing it, you're still not chewing. And I think people are there's a lot of great products on the market to make life simpler, but you still need to chew food. You have so many enzymes. Digestion starts in the mouth. And then when people are telling me I have IBS, I'm backed out. Well, no shit. You're literally eating and not chewing and expecting your GI, right, to work. If
Yeah.
you're not using it, you're
Yeah.
not using it. You're eating once a day. What do you expect?
Right.
Yeah. So I think there's a time and a place to use these protein shakes. I'm not saying they're bad, but I would say anytime I see something like 30, 40, I think they also make a 40-gram one. I'm like, oh Lord. And really the body can only process so much at a time. The same thing with supplements. I tell people, get off of multivitamins. They're not even scratching the surface of your daily recommended allowance. I would rather
Are you really?
but seriously, I would rather test and see, do you have any deficiencies? If you do, let's focus on that.
What if I don't have any deficiencies? Am I still okay with my multivitamin?
Sure, but again, you're someone who's not a picky eater. You don't strike me as a picky eater. Eat your food.
I'm not a picky eater.
Okay.
There's some things. I'm not a picky eater.
Well, why do you take the multivitamin?
No, just because everybody always recommends
On TikTok.
Well, it's not TikTok. It's my doctor recommended it.
Okay.
Yeah, my DO, which I trust a DO.
Mm-hmm.
I generally enjoy a DO's
Okay.
advice and opinion. It is one I respect highly, considering. But so okay, big things here, and I think we'll wrap this up. And I definitely think we need to do a second episode because we really didn't even get into stool testing and stuff of that nature. And if I'm going to talk shit, I want to talk shit.
Yeah.
But anyway, just start slinging shit next time.
You know, and this is the thing that I think, right? Your services are available.
Mm-hmm.
And not just you. We have a team as part of Best Health and Wellness that provide nutrition services along with mental health and physical therapy. But even if let's say someone catches wind of this episode and they're all the way in California, there are still registered dietitians that are available. Now, you need to go by state to make sure you understand what your laws are with your insurance and stuff. But a registered dietitian is a feasible access, right?
Yes.
And I think that is starting to become more and more of a thought of thing, right? Again, thanks to social media and TikTok and ads, where it used to be, it was like you only talk to a registered dietitian if you were super morbidly obese or you were fat, right? But it is available. It is an option. A lot of times it is covered by your insurance.
Yep.
I know very specifically that our team and you guys don't tell me not to eat things.
Correct.
Right.
More or less, if you want to eat this, that's fine. Let's supplement this with X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I can say moderation or replace it with something better.
Yeah.
You can still have alcohol.
Yeah.
You can still have sugar.
If you want your daily Diet Coke, you can still
have this analogy of a dietitian, in my opinion, a really quality, good dietitian is someone who will go to a supermarket and we're able to go through all of this world of fluff and product and supplementation and find the best products for you, because there are some product supplements that are regulated, but whatever that jack shit they want in there. A food scientist is going to sit in a lab and say, how can I get them hooked on this? We love sugar and we love salt, and I'm going to make a profit off of this.
Yep.
So that's where I think dietitians are on the rise, because again, people think we're just there for weight gain, weight loss. We're so much more than that. Even
really, to me, it truly is the accessibility.
Yeah.
Because prior to starting with this company, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm what do you mean I can see a dietitian? What? I don't need a dietitian. Like,
because most people, they're like, I'm fine. I know what I'm doing. And then, I say, hey, even just having a conversation about sleep or supplements or just something small, because you'd be really surprised as you open the hood of the car and you're like, oh, I'm 50. I'm not 30 anymore. And people are still focused. A lot of my seniors, they go, well, I want to lose weight. And I actually sometimes will halt them, because I'm like, fat and muscle give you structure. If you want to age gracefully, you need structure. So it's not necessarily that we're not doing the weight loss, but we might change the way that we approach things, right? Whether we're now, if you want to lose weight, all right, but you have to gain in muscle mass. You have to get into the gym, right? So it's so much more than that. I mean,
you like your car analogy, right? Because it can use a tune-up. Just because it's running fine doesn't mean you can't get in there and tune it up, right? And this is the same thing. I run 3 to 5 days a week. I work out. I intermittent fast and eat healthy. I chase my toddler around all day, and I still learned a bunch of stuff when I did my time with AC from a registered dietitian. So, I mean, there's always something you can learn. And again, guys, take advantage of this stuff. We're going to have Nicole's information listed at the end of this episode. They do a lot of their stuff virtual. Yes, we'd love for you to get in and do the in-body, but you don't have to. They can do a lot of stuff virtually. You can literally not even leave the seat of your couch and speak to Nicole as a registered dietitian and understand so much more about your body. And it may be completely free. So really, that's like, someone offering you cash and you're like, yeah, no, I'm not going to take it. Fuck that noise.
I rather have a credit card.
Yeah.
That's
$2,000 cash or a credit card with a $150 limit?
Yeah.
Give me the credit card.
Yeah.
So take advantage of this because it is available to you. And if you have no reason not to, you need to. And you're going to learn something, even if you do it for 2 or 3 weeks. You know, you never know.
2 or 3 sessions.
You might even know. I have clients that sit there and they go, I knew all of this, and it just felt good feeling acknowledged.
Correct.
By someone like you saying, oh, I have the right.
The professional, not
Yes.
Dr. Google telling
Exactly.
me. Okay.
They're like,
So
exactly.
crazy. Yeah.
Click the link at the end of this. It'll take you right to Nicole and some of our other nutritionists, and they're going to be there to help guide you, to help you understand this crazy world that we call food and answer some of those more difficult questions.
Yep.
Now, speaking of difficult questions, the question of the week, which has been not as hotly debated as I thought it was going to be.
I thought we were going to have more hockey pucks.
I did too. So the question of the week this week is, how do you cook your steak?
Medium rare.
I agree.
There's only one right answer, medium rare.
False. Because a rare, if I'm getting a filet mignon, rare is perfect.
Yeah.
Rare is great. If I would even take a medium sometimes.
It's just too well.
Let me up the steaks. Do you put A1 sauce?
Hell no. If you have to put sauce on a steak, it's a bad steak.
Or it's a hockey puck, and you might as well just.
Or you have very poor quality of taste buds. You don't know flavor, you don't know food. But we realistically, I think medium rare is winning the race here. We do have some votes for well done, which is the hockey puck. And I give my mom a hard time for this all the time because she likes her steaks well done. And I will laugh at that woman till she is blue in the face because she started going like, we were poor growing up, and now my mom's got it like that. And so she started going to nice restaurants, and they won't serve you a well done steak at a nice restaurant. So she's had to.
Really?
They won't. They'll look at you with.
It's sometimes
faces.
there's a questionable, like a shithole. I call it shithole restaurants. It's one of my sayings. I'm just for the sake of my stomach, I'll be like, well done. But then I also kind of corner myself of like, if I'm going to a shithole restaurant, why not order a steak?
Yeah, I would. Yeah. That's like going to Applebee's and ordering a steak.
Yeah.
Not saying, don't come at me, Applebee's. Not saying Applebee's does a shithole restaurant.
Yeah. It does have a nice steak.
No, it doesn't. I've never gotten a good steak from Applebee's.
Tragically, I'm very sad that KFC got rid of the wedges.
Yeah, those were good.
Their French fries are delicious.
Sure.
I don't know.
Potatoes, mashed
Food.
potatoes.
I mean, we could talk food all day long, right? And then that's the goal. But anyway, this has just been another great episode. Soul Point Strong Drinks. Thank you, Nicole, for joining us, giving us the insights. I wonder, like, subscribe, share, follow the podcast, guys. Comment. We're gonna have the same question of the week vote at the end of the video. If you have questions, chime them in. We'll segue into Nicole and get them answered to you. This is information that everybody can use.
Yep.
Everybody needs this knowledge. Share it with those people so that they know now as much as you know, because it's super easy with social media. Get the word out there so that we can help people live healthier, live better, and understand things a little bit more.
I love that. I agree.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yay!